Why you're closer to success than you think. John Parker stood in the dimly lit corner of his one-room apartment. The walls, once painted white, had grown dull and cracked. The desk in front of him was cluttered with papers, notebooks, and an old laptop. He had spent years chasing his dream of becoming a writer, yet his inbox overflowed with rejection letters. Today, however, was different. He wasn't just frustrated, he was ready to give up. The cold winter wind outside howled, mirroring his turmoil. He sat down, picked up his notebook, and stared at the half-finished story he'd been working on for months. Maybe it's not meant to be, he muttered. Maybe I'm not good enough. Just as he was about to close the notebook, his phone buzzed. It was a message from Emma, his childhood friend and constant source of encouragement. Emma, hey, I found this quote today, and it made me think of you. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Don't give up, John. You're closer than you think. John sighed. Emma always had a knack for saying the right things, but he felt too defeated to reply. He threw his phone onto the bed and decided to take a walk. The city streets were bustling despite the chilly evening. People hurried past, their faces lit with purpose. John envied their confidence. He wandered aimlessly until he found himself outside a small bookstore. Its warm, golden light spilled onto the sidewalk, inviting him in. Inside, the aroma of old books and freshly brewed coffee wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. He browsed the shelves, not really looking for anything. Then a book caught his eye. Its title read, The Last Push, Stories of Success Born from Failure. Curiosity got the better of him. He flipped through the pages and landed on a chapter about a famous entrepreneur who had failed dozens of times before finally building a billion-dollar company. The words hit home. Most people quit just before they strike gold. The darkest hour is just before dawn. John closed the book and sat down in the store's small reading nook. He thought about the times he had come close to success. His short story had once been shortlisted for a prestigious competition. An editor had even told him he had potential, though they didn't accept his work at the time. Maybe Emma's right, he whispered to himself. Maybe I'm closer than I think. When John returned home, something inside him had shifted. He sat at his desk and opened his notebook again. This time he didn't focus on perfection. He focused on progress. Words flowed from his pen as if they had been waiting for this moment. Days turned into weeks, and John kept writing. He submitted his finished manuscript to multiple publishers, knowing full well that rejection was a possibility. But this time, he wasn't afraid. Then one cold morning, as he sipped his coffee, an email notification popped up on his laptop. The subject line read, "Congratulations." With trembling hands, John opened the email. It was from a renowned publishing house. They had accepted his manuscript and wanted to publish it. John sat back, stunned. The journey that had felt endless and hopeless now had a destination. He thought back to Emma's message and the words in the bookstore. She was right. Success wasn't a distant dream. It had been right around the corner all along. Months later, John stood on a stage at a book launch event. The room was filled with people who had come to hear him speak. As he looked out at the crowd, he spotted Emma smiling in the front row. "I almost gave up," he began, his voice steady. "But what I've learned is that you're often closer to success than you think. You just need to keep going, even when it feels impossible. Because sometimes all it takes is one more try." The audience erupted in applause. John smiled, knowing his journey was far from over. But now he was ready for whatever lay ahead.